Hey guys, I'm Josh, a founding engineer at OpenSea, and this is Rect.
Hello and welcome to Wrecked Podcast. I am Bunchu alongside my esteemed colleague and co-host Chamber. Chamber, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing very well this morning. It's a Friday morning. It's beautiful outside. It's that nice spring weather. I walked my daughter to school today. I felt energized. Most exercise I've done in months. So it's a good day for Chamber.
That is fantastic. Good news. It is freezing cold here. I don't know. I don't know if it's cold by you, but
it was crisp. It was crisp here.
Yeah, it is. But we have a fantastic guest with us today. We are very excited to be talking with Josh, one of the founding engineers of OpenSea and creator of Hashrunes. Josh, how you doing, man?
Good. It's late here, but I'm always staying up late, so that's good. I have not left my apartment all day today.
That's fantastic. Well, we appreciate you joining us for in the late hours of the night there. Well, it's funny. I love crypto because of this, right? It's 10 a.m. on Friday morning here, and it's about, you said 11 p.m. where you are, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, isn't that what the beauty of crypto is, right? Worldwide communication at all.
Decentralized, man.
That's absolutely right. So we appreciate you joining us, and we're excited to talk about OpenSea and Hashrunes and NFTs. And let's get right into it, because, I mean, you don't need to be told this, but NFTs have just been the craze lately. So we are, I would say, I don't know, in the last, what do you think, Chamber, 5-6 weeks, it's really been just exploding. I mean,
I would say the last few months there's been a steady message of NFTs in the marketplace, but I'd say like you said, the last 4 to 6 weeks have been just crazy.
And we've seen it go mainstream with things like Top Shot, but what a lot of people don't realize is, NFT space has been around for, quite some time. This is not, Top Shot isn't the first NFT, and it's people like Josh who have kind of helped build the foundation around what we see in the NFT space here and what's to come. So I guess let's start with Josh. How did you kind of get into even let's start with crypto and then NFTs, and what appealed to you about that, and kind of tell us that whole story.
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from the Bay Area, near San Francisco. So when I was in college, I would hear about Bitcoin and people talking about crypto. And at that time, I wasn't really familiar with the ins and outs. I think all I did was sort of read the white paper and sort of understand how things work, but I never really thought too much about it. But later on, after working in the Silicon Valley for a while, people around me started talking about crypto all the time. It was only, I think, several years after I, started hearing about all this stuff that I was looking for another job. And Devin from OpenSea just reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, have you heard of NFTs?" I'm like, "I have, but not really." I mean, I knew about CryptoKitties, but it's like, what? Okay, so what's going on? And he kind of explained to me all about it. And I started getting really interested, because I was like, okay, well, this is real new, and I want to do something new. And that's how I got my start with OpenSea.
That's very cool. So what was it kind of about the entire idea of NFTs that caught your interest? Because I think it's interesting to, there's people in crypto that are, traders. There's people that are finance experts. There's people that are artists, and I think all of those are very unique perspectives. And I think NFTs have, kind of this weird in-between niche between who's interested in them and why. So what is it about NFTs that kind of caught your interest there?
So I would say, like we've always had digital assets. So, for a very long time now, people are on the internet and, they buy things that are not even physical. And no one has really, how do you know if you truly own something, right?
Right.
So NFTs are like a way of sort of, I would say, proving that you have ownership. And so it's taking something that's not really a new concept, like ownership of digital things, and making it very visible, very, very shareable, very mimetic to the global user base. Because we're all sharing one single database, decentralized, and everyone can sort of agree on the state of what's going on in the blockchain. That's really sort of the main gist of what makes NFTs valuable. A lot of people worry about, how the data, or for example, like the image data for a certain NFT, like where is that stored?
Yeah, so I saw that. I feel like that's been the talk in the last week or so. I've seen a lot of bubbling about that specifically. So do you care to kind of go into that? Like what is the whole argument, pros and cons? Because I think that's important when we're talking about, new people maybe getting involved in understanding NFTs. So discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, so the value of an NFT is not really like the data itself that you're associating with some object, some digital item. It's really just the sort of there are a couple things. So there's the provenance behind the NFT. So where does this come from? Who's backing it? How genuine, how authentic is this thing?
Right. There's a lot of that in the market currently, where it's,
exactly.
People are just generating NFTs without, you know what I mean? Just like I saw one the other day where somebody just took images of somebody that was popular on Twitter and made a dozen NFTs out of a dozen different pictures of this person. Like, what is that? And they were generating Ethereum off of it, which was crazy.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that kind of thing, but I think most of the projects that are showing real value have value based on their provenance. So if you take a look at the drops we've had, for example, Shawn Mendes, his items, if you just take the data at face value, they're just images or video, right?
Right.
But people want them because they're from a famous artist.
Yeah.
They're from someone that they really like.
We had that with Lindsay Lohan a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
So I mean, Shawn Mendes, he could mint like 10,000 more of the same guitar item if he wanted to, but he's not going to do that. I mean, if he did, it would dramatically lower the value of one of them, right? But he's not going to, and people are just trusting that fact. And I mean, why would any NFT be valuable if you weren't trusting like who's behind the project, right? So I would not worry about like where this data is being stored as much.
Is there an issue down the line, say, because I haven't looked too far into this, but I have seen like the arguments on Twitter and stuff is there an issue with what if that person who originally created the NFT either stops maintaining that data, like where the data is coming from, or anything like that. Is that an actual cause for concern in your opinion, or what's the thought there?
Yeah, so you could say that there's a concern. I would say the concern is not as serious as some people are making out to be. So of course you could store the data somewhere. You could use IPFS, you could use some sort of solution that mitigates this issue. I don't think there's nothing that's going to 100% solve the issue. And I don't even, I'm here saying that it's not really a big issue. But like with say like Mooncats, that was a project that was abandoned, and then people are like, oh hey, let's go grab these cats. I'm
so sour I missed out on getting a Mooncat. I can't even tell you, because I saw it and I just didn't act in time, and then all of a sudden they were gone, and that was it.
Well, I mean, let's say the Mooncat project was completely abandoned and there was no way of there's no easy way of getting the images for the cats, for example. The community would still figure out what these were supposed to look like. They would still figure that all out, build a data storage for it, generate all the images, store it somewhere. Community would be like, oh yeah, these are totally the canonical images. It's not really that big of a deal. It's more like, okay, we're pretty sure we can trust that this is what they were supposed to look like.
I see.
That's all that matters.
So basically, people just need to chill out. Okay, it'll be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Right. So
with something like Mooncats, people are like, oh wow, this is some really old NFT project. Let's dig this out and figure out everything about it. With that kind of enthusiasm, of course they would figure out what the images were if they didn't know what they were beforehand. Yeah.
Do you have any Mooncats?
I have 2.
Nice.
Flex.
I mean, Chamber and I, we are not gonna make it, as the kids are saying.
NGMI.
we have 0 Mooncats between us, and it was just a big fail, But anyway, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit then about OpenSea. So we saw, actually, I saw a news article that came out this morning. Was it this morning? Or yesterday about OpenSea raising $23 million from A16Z, so the Andreessen Horowitz, and so huge. I would say news, right? Yeah. Huge news for OpenSea. Talk about kind of what you guys are working on there. What what your goals are, what you see kind of the future being like for OpenSea.
Yeah. So. We are really excited about everything that's been happening. We've seen tremendous growth that I'm sure everyone has noticed. And, for the future, we hope to, and this is the direction we're going, support any use cases or any blockchains that people are using. Basically, wherever the users go, we aim to support them and provide a marketplace for whatever users are interested in. So that's sort of one of our main philosophies. I would say another thing is make the platform more discoverable. Make NFTs on the platform more discoverable. We want to work on basically having OpenSea become the Google or Amazon of NFTs, the place where everyone will go to look up stuff and see what they have.
I feel like you're quite on track there.
I agree. Far. I mean, if something's not on OpenSea,
Does it even exist?
Yeah. Is it really an NFT?
Yeah, exactly. So Chamber, you got some questions about OpenSea here. You've been pretty active on OpenSea in the past couple weeks. Even more than I have, and I've been ringing the NFT bell. Like it's mostly because I'm poor and you are a crypto god now. But you know, your activity on OpenSea has been up there. So what do you got for OpenSea?
I mean, I love it. I guess my first question would be, obviously, the key is to get as many new users as possible. I wouldn't say the platform isn't user friendly, but are there steps you guys are taking to make things a little easier for maybe like my dad to use it, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, somebody that may not be as technically inclined, not that I'm a, you know, white hat hacker or anything, but you know, just something a little easier.
I should have mentioned this. So one of the things we're definitely aiming to do is to make the sort of onboarding process a lot easier for new users. Currently, the new user experience is, I would say, suboptimal. I mean, you have to figure out what a wallet is.
Yeah, there's a couple of steps.
You have to know all sorts of things about the blockchain. A lot of people, you know, they think that the initial gas fee that they pay to basically let us manage like the orders, like the sell and buy orders. They think that money goes to us, but it doesn't, right? It goes to the blockchain. Right. So a lot of the sort of common sense things are in need of improvement. There's a lot of things we can do to make things more intuitive, explain the process better. I know like a lot of people currently experience a sort of like, I'm just trying to do this one thing. Why is it telling me to pay like $40 of gas?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is there thoughts of?
So that's definitely something.
Are there thoughts?
Go ahead. No, well, the gas fees I think is a interesting piece for all the current NFT activity going on, right? So, like, you know, your OpenSea is mostly or all Ethereum. Is it all Ethereum based? Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Yes. Currently, so all Ethereum.
Do you guys see an issue with kind of being all Ethereum at the moment because of the gas fees? We've seen, you know, stuff come out like Flow with Top Shot and things like that, where, you know, there's less or no gas fees. And I feel like, you know, getting new users in, as Chamber was saying, is part of the big key to all of this. But new users, one, convincing them to buy an NFT may be tough to begin with. Right. So the pricing of stuff that's out there, the gas fees feel like they price out the low end, right, Chamber? Like we were kind of saying, hey, if you are not playing with a certain amount of Ethereum already, you're kind of priced out of some things because of gas. So do you see that being an issue?
That is a huge issue, and we definitely are working on resolving that. So I will say that, you know, we are working on support integration with other blockchains. So you'll see in the coming weeks, we will have something rolling out pretty soon.
I thought I saw that Flow was going to be partnering with you guys. Is that a thing?
So I can't say when exactly the integration would be, but yeah, we're in, you know, discussions with
awesome.
That's integration.
Cool.
So yeah, and also and kind of the point I was trying to make is for people listening in, the other blockchains, or maybe we can call them layer 2 or side chains. Right. They would not have such a huge gas fee because they would be based on something that's not just proof of work.
Right.
Yeah, and that would eliminate pretty much the almost entire problem of having to pay gas fee, other than the fact that you still have to pay gas fee, which we are also working on. I'm not really sure how much of this I can say, but you can expect that pretty soon there will be a much more streamlined experience, and you might not have to pay gas fees for most things.
Very interesting. That would be, I think that's huge because, I'm already struggling sometimes convincing myself I'm going to pay $100 for an image of something, right? And then when I go to actually do that, it's costing me another $100 in gas, and then I'm like, man, what am I really doing with my life in general? And I tweeted yesterday, I was like, all my friends are getting rich. I'm buying moon cats and video clips of grown men playing basketball. Like, what the hell's wrong with me? So, but yeah, so the gas fees, I think, is a huge thing. What were you going to say, Chamber?
I was going to say, when you tell me to go on a shopping spree, and then I just keep buying, and I try not to look at the gas. But I know every time, like, I think I just spent $500 in gas in that, half-hour session.
We need to.
It's not fun.
We need to have a tax professional on. You got to be able to write off your gas fees, I think, right? Like, you have to.
Sometimes it's good not to think about it.
Yeah. Josh, do you know if you can write off your gas fees?
I'm not a
It depends on your mileage.
Tax accountant, but I would think it's very likely that you can write that off.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Cost of doing business.
You heard it here first. Josh, tax accountant. Chamber, this is where, if we're using the video, you run the not financial advice ticker across the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Josh's
my argument would just be like, if you use a broker for exchanging currencies, for example, or buying stock, your commission can usually be written off.
And that's pretty much the same kind of thing, right? Yeah, I guess that is true.
Yeah.
It's just a decentralized broker.
Right? Exactly.
There you go. Awesome. So, I mean, I think, like you said, I think OpenSea is well on their way to being that kind of go-to spot for, especially like, if it, as Chamber said, if it's not on OpenSea, does it even exist?
I remember not that long ago, like a year ago, maybe a little bit more, even during the last bull run back in 2017, 2018, Wax, like that Wax blockchain was kind of a very high on the list. And I would say over the course of time, that's definitely gone a different direction than OpenSea. I think OpenSea has slowly become kind of the standard in NFTs as far as purchasing them, marketplaces, all that stuff. So I agree. I think you guys are well on your way to being, like the Google, like you said, like the Google. I think the next step, and I think it's just a step for the entire space, is just making things, a little bit more user friendly. Not necessarily an OpenSea thing. I think it's just a cryptocurrency thing at this point.
Yeah, and then. I don't know if you have insight to this, but when we have seen like this huge NFT boom where everybody's talking about it, seems like they're buying and selling NFTs. What does the traffic kind of look like? Do you have insight on, how much that's increased in the past, I would say a couple months versus what you had seen in maybe the past year?
Yeah, it's an absolute explosion. So
really,
yeah. So it's gone to the point where we're constantly making infrastructure changes because our traffic increases and our user base is increasing. People are loading the pages like way more often than they used to because there were not as many people. So, I would take a look at how many users are currently on the site and be like, oh, wow, that would have been unthinkable last year.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you just take a look at all the publicly available charts about OpenSea and the users and the volume, I think Dune Analytics has some pretty good charts for that. Yeah, you can just take a look at that chart, and that's exactly how much more traffic is coming in.
That's very cool. I mean, I think you're seeing it all over the place. I see so many people. Chamber, you had a question about the traffic, maybe related piece.
I mean, I don't know if it's traffic, But I do notice when I run OpenSea, it sometimes can kind of congest my computer. Is that a normal thing? Like, what's it doing in the background? I feel sometimes it really starts humming when I have OpenSea. Occasionally, like I'm running it now, it's no problem. But sometimes, sometimes it
I would say that's our bad. So yeah, we need to work on making the website a lot lightweight.
That's what it feels. It feels like it's got some substance to it. You know what I mean? Like it's got a back seat in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Got
so
a real
we've been
ass
trying
on
to move fast, and we've been trying to, get things done very quickly to support all the sort of needs of the community. And I think as part of this next push this year, we'll be trying to get the website to function really nicely, really lightweight, because we're well aware that sometimes you can leave your OpenSea tab open, come back like 12 hours later, and then you're trying to click on things or scroll, and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Okay. All right. As long as
we're totally aware of that.
Sometimes I feel like it's my fault, so I'm just happy to know. That's good. Now, the real question I have, and I've seen this being asked. I've seen this being put out there on Twitter. But is there any thought to an OpenSea token in the future? Have they thrown that around? Because I know people are just aching for one of those airdrops.
So, well, we're not against the idea. That's what I'll say. I
guess there'd be a way you'd have. Yeah, I totally understand. Don't get me wrong.
Like,
but there has to be a way to. I'm assuming there would have to be a way to utilize it, and it would have to have a purpose of some sort. Because I feel sometimes they'll just create a token. Like some projects will just create a token for the sake of doing so. I feel if it was OpenSea, there would definitely be some reason, some purpose behind it. So I can appreciate if that's still in the background.
We definitely. So yeah, if there were to be a token, we definitely would want there to be substantial meaning behind it,
sure.
And not just a way to just raise money. For example, like a lot of projects, they do an ICO, and that's like sort of their whole basis of making their first or having funding to do the project. Right. So we would want any sort of token to have more utility.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and that would be. Well, I mean, isn't that what makes a good token? Hopefully, right? Like any kind of utility, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
But I think that was a good question, Chamber, because I think everybody's been kind of speculating on whether or not that might happen. Yeah. But awesome. So I think that's a good place to cover for OpenSea. You have another project that you've founded that we think is pretty cool that we both have participated in, and that's called Hashrunes. And Chamber, you've gotten yourself, how many you got? You got 3?
I got a couple. I think I have 3. I'll bring one up now, actually.
I have one that I've named Have Fun Staying Poor. So talk about what Hashrunes is, what the idea was behind the project, things like that. How you got started with that.
Yeah, so as someone who works on OpenSea directly, I didn't really spend much time doing my own projects. So one motivation was just to actually have an NFT project so I could use OpenSea. So it might sound crazy, but
that's what you're saying.
For Hashrunes, I don't think I've really participated much on OpenSea. I've just been building it. So you build something and you end up not using it. And
what lessons have you learned since that then? I mean, having now used it because of your own project, what did that kind of teach you about OpenSea that maybe you didn't know before, even having built it?
Oh, lots of things, like the sort of pain points of the process, like getting things up on OpenSea, how to connect the metadata. Well, but that's not the only reason, right? So this project itself, I think, has some pretty new ideas in it. So first of all, it's generative art, which isn't new, but it's it's been pretty popular, I would say. And I wanted to sort of explore this area and give it more meaning. So one thing is, so the main, I guess, main thing is that.
So step back really quick. So for those who may not even know what generative art means, can you kind of describe that for them?
Right. So generative art is art that's produced by a computer with an algorithm, and it's usually making use of randomness and creating sort of beauty out of the randomness, out of this entropy that's sort of inherent in the process. So there are a bunch of NFT projects that do this, and they generate something randomly, and it turns out looking real cool. Well, it depends on what kind of algorithm. So you want to make an algorithm that generates cool looking art. Yeah, that's for sure. So the kind of new thing about this is that it's both on chain, and it's the result of the art, or the art is completely created by the user, because the user provides the name of the piece. So,
and now correct me if I'm wrong, and depending on the name will change the algorithm, will change the art, correct?
That's correct.
It's amazing. I mean, you're taking the best parts, like we had hash masks that come out. I'm assuming there's some correlation there with Hashrunes, but hash masks, you randomly got a piece of art after participating, but then you had to pay to change the name of it, or you were they generated tokens to pay to change the name. This, you're taking the best part, which is in my opinion, which is naming the piece of art, and the name itself dictates what the art's going to look like, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that before, and so I decided to go in this direction and do this. And yeah, so I would claim that it's the first on-chain generative art that the user creates by naming it.
That's cool, because you can see that actually changing now with as he's typing it, which is cool. So there's a couple, as he's typing the name in there, the visual or what it produces as your piece totally changes, which is really cool. So
Hashrunes.com.
Yeah, Hashrunes. Oh yeah, do Hashrunes.com. See what happens.
Oh, like type in Hashrunes?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm there.
That's cool. Oh, there you go. That's wild, man. So I think you need a tagline. It's Hashrunes. The beauty is in the name. There you go.
That's a good one. I think my tagline on the website was something like, was it like on-chain art named by you or summoned by you or something like that?
I like both.
Now, I have a question. When I was buying them, there was first edition, and there was Genesis. Now, right. when I clicked on, I think you're automatically brought to first edition. So right now it says first edition Hashrunes minted 773 out of 10,000. Current price 0.1678 Ethereum or free. Each Hashrune minted increases the price by 0.0002 Ethereum. And if I click on Genesis, so if going from 0.16, now it says Genesis minted 374. Current price is just over 2 Ethereum. So what's the difference between the first edition versus the Genesis?
Yeah, so the Genesis is the first smart contract that I deployed, and it had a very expensive pricing function. So what happens is that after you buy one, the next time someone wants to create one, they have to pay 1% more. And with this sort of compounding price, it sort of
got
goes,
expensive.
it goes real fast. So the first one sold for 0.05 Ether, and now we're at like 2.07.
Right.
And that's with, I think, like 300 something.
Yeah, I think it was 374.
Yeah. So you can see that that's definitely not something that most people can participate in.
I was going to go cloud chasing the other day and I almost got one, but I'm like, well, I should really find out what the difference is before I go spending 2 Ethereum.
So one thing is, like, it's just by its own nature on the smart contract, and all the pricing stuff, that's all coded in the smart contract. So by its own very nature, it's way more scarce. And also it doesn't have that corner pattern you see on the first editions.
Right.
So the first edition is basically a less exclusive version. It's way cheaper. The price is increases by a little bit each time, and it doesn't like increase by some percentage. So that's, I think, pretty different. It also has like a cap, a maximum number of, I think it's 10,000.
Yeah.
Because since it's way cheaper, there's no way to sort of guarantee some scarcity. So I put a like a hard cap on it. So yeah, that's the main difference. And you'll find that the same name on both editions look very different because they have a slight differences in the generating algorithm.
And if you generate a Genesis, you get the first edition. Is that what the or free piece means? Is that how I understood that, or am I incorrect there?
So if you generate a Genesis hash rune, it lets you generate the first edition counterpart for free.
Right.
But you still have to pay gas because the first edition came after the Genesis. And due to technical reasons, you can't retroactively change the Genesis smart. I mean, that's kind of the point of the blockchain. You can't change what it does afterward. But the first edition was a response to people in the community who are like, oh man, I really think this is so cool, but it's just too expensive.
Sure.
Let me go. Like if there were one that's like way cheaper, I would buy it. So then I made one that's like way cheaper.
Got it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think it's awesome. I've never seen, because I've seen some of the other generative stuff out there, which the whole idea is cool in the first place, but the fact that it changes and the algorithm is based on the actual name that you give it is really, I think, what makes that pretty unique. So, Chamber, any other comments on Hashrunes? You gonna go cloud chasing or what?
I still might go cloud chasing.
You've already now Chamber's your biggest fan, Josh. He's already bought Hashrunes and placed them for sale on OpenSea. So he's got it all figured out.
I'm in the Josh ecosystem right now.
That's right.
I'm a Josh Maxi. What can I say?
That's funny.
I mean, it's more than what I could have asked for. This is my first NFT project. And
it's cool.
I honestly think it's one of the funnest ones that I've seen so far. Like it's to me, it's better than, again, it all has to, in my opinion, the price I think is very reasonable. Currently, I mean, you can just buy a bunch of them. There's still over 9,000 you can still purchase at a reasonable price. Yeah. The fact that you can create your own name and it generates the art based on name, to me, is fantastic. I think it's just a matter of time before this just absolutely goes crazy. I think crazier than like the hash masks and the moon cats. Like this is gonna go crazy. I'm telling you, this is gonna be a good one.
I think the funny part is you definitely bought multiple because you realized that what you could name them and figure and it changed based on what the name of it was. Right?
Oh yeah, like I mean, I love the names. So as I think of more names, I'm just gonna keep buying them.
That's funny. So I think that's pretty awesome. And so I think what's important, what you just said, Chamber, too, is the price is important, because what we're seeing with a lot of these projects out there is especially the generative ones, they're all on these bonding curves, right? And the bonding curves sometimes, like with the current price of Ethereum, when they started, they may not have been very expensive, right? Where like, remember a year ago, ETH was $100, right? Like, so, if something that started over a year ago, your bonding curve that looked reasonable at the time may not be reasonable from a price standpoint now, if you don't already have a pile of ETH you're sitting on, right? But as people come into the space and they want to participate in these ecosystems and find these cool projects, they quickly get priced out of some of these bonding curves, right? And I think that's part of the problem, with some of these generative projects. And I think, to your point, making that first generation or the first edition pieces with the idea of it being more price conscious in mind is a great idea, because it allows more people to kind of come in and experience the not only the art of it, but the fun experience of being able to name it and all of that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts there? Did you have any what kind of went into your idea about that pricing structure and all of that, and what do you think of that in the space in general?
Yeah, so for the Genesis Hashrunes, the ones that are exponential, that's made for the people who are really invested into sort of the exclusivity of the Hashrunes. And I think having both of these editions sort of covers most of what the community wants, because the first edition Hashrunes, I think, would cater better towards people who just want to have the name that they wanted. They want to buy the Hashrune that has a certain name, and by keeping the prices low, but the prices will still increase. Like the reason why I have it still increase is because people who get in early will see a return if they buy it now instead of later, and that's something that's, I guess, important to a lot of people in the community, is the excitement of getting in early.
Got to be early. Although if you're not early, you're late, right, Chamber?
Oh, yeah, story of my life.
So I think having both of these editions is like pretty important to engage the community, sort of serve both purposes.
Yeah, I would agree. Cool. Any last comments on Hashrunes, Chamber?
No, I think it's one of the best NFT projects I've seen so far. I think if you're interested in NFTs, you should definitely check it out. They're very, very interesting. Better than some of the ones, a lot of the ones that I've seen so far. So check it out. But big fan of Hashrunes. Great.
Yeah, what I think is cool. Go ahead, Josh.
Another thing I think was really cool about this project is I did no marketing. There was absolutely no promotion. All I did was put this out on OpenSea, and people started buying them. So there's clearly interest, I would say. And yeah, like I'd like more people to notice the project, so that and we have a Discord. A lot of people are talking about ways of sort of bringing more visibility. Like having me on this podcast probably would help the people in the Discord.
There you go. We got to drop the link in the Discord. Chamber, you better get in that Discord today.
I'm in it.
That's funny. We didn't even know there was a Discord. We're like, let's have, this is cool. Let's have them on.
So honestly, I didn't know that this project was going to go anywhere. And then after I deployed everything and people are taking notice, I mean, it did, I think, 63 Ether of secondary sales on the first 2 days.
Wow.
I think just in one day. Yeah.
And that's like secondary sales.
That's secondary sales.
Wow. So I mean, I definitely can see a world where all these 10,000 are minted at some point, for sure. I don't know when.
So that was the very first, like the beginning. There was like a sort of, it went semi-viral. But I think to get sort of sustained growth in the community, we need to actually do some promotion.
Sure. I think, like I said, with what's unique about this, there's a couple different ways that you can experience NFTs, right? And like right now the NFT space is mostly art and kind of experiences and things like that, where we see it with, you know, Top Shot being more of like a collectible piece versus, you know, an artist actually putting out a work of art. And then there's something like Hashrunes, which is something totally different, where it's the art is in the math, right? Like that's where it really gets its intrigue from, which I
lots
think
of ideas you can build on top of it too.
Yeah.
So, you know, for the people who own the Genesis hash, like I have all these ideas about what kind of like projects in the future I can do where, you know, if you own this hash rune, then you get like sort of perks for this particular name or things like that. And I think what's really great about it is because these names have sort of meaning to us in our language. I think that's a really natural thing to build on top of. So if you have like some character that should have a name, you can tie that to Hashrunes.
That's why I picked a fantastic crypto Twitter meme as my name. Chamber, I think you need to mint NGMI. You got to mint Not Gonna Make It. Like,
I have to check if they're minted yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly gonna make it.
I think that's the fun part about like the naming pieces. It brings a meme aspect to it, right? And each one of those are unique. And you know how crypto Twitter loves their memes, right? So it's funny. Awesome.
It's also kind of an inside joke because you can just show the hash rune but not tell them what the name is.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. Yeah, you get that. That's funny. I like that. I'm gonna start naming mine and then just showing them the chamber, and they're all just gonna be making fun of him when he goes to look at them on OpenSea.
You've made like a gallery in Crypto Voxels.
That's fantastic.
You know, for their hash runes.
That's great.
And someone was sharing like, oh wow, this one looks really awesome, but they redacted the name out of the screenshot so that like so that other people wouldn't know what it's called, so that if they wanted to buy it, they could buy it before anyone else.
That's funny. Yeah, that gives it a really unique aspect that I think is a lot of fun. So cool. I think that's a good place to stop. What do you think, Chamber?
I think this was a great show. Great information from Josh. Inside source. If you're not a Josh Maxey by the end of this episode, there's no helping you. You're not gonna make it.
On Twitter.
Yeah. Josh? Where can people find you? Let them know where we can find you.
Yeah, Joshua Wu 0.
Awesome.
That's my Twitter handle. If you also go on OpenSea, my username is Josh, Josh.
Wow, he got the Josh. He's the Josh.
I think there's another Josh that has uppercase letters. I'm the one with all lowercase.
All lowercase Josh. I like that.
That's right.
Chamber tried to get Josh, but he ended up with like Josh 1 2 3 4. And it's like
I'm also Joshua.eth.
I like that. I saw that in your headline. We need to get ourselves a .eth name, Chamber.
I agree. I think
for the show.
If
I don't spend all of our joint
what do you have
funds.
to pay? What's the cost to get one of those, Josh? The .eth.
It depends on how long the name is.
Oh, so really?
If it's 5 characters or more, it's only I think $15 a year. I think.
Oh, that's reasonable.
We gotta have that then. We gotta
Rec.eth.
Rect.eth is actually probably a pretty good one. There's no way that isn't already taken. Check it out.
This could be a later story, but I actually worked on the ENS auction on the
there we go. Well, tell us about that quick.
Okay, yeah, I was the main person in charge of that. We built like a custom auction system, try to weed out any people who are just trying to game the auction systems. Very, very interesting stories. I don't think I can go over them in such a short time. But yeah, like all the stuff that went down, I'm sure you guys might have heard of the incident where someone took some very high value names and they gave it back. They didn't have to give it back, but they gave it back, which I'm glad for. But yeah, like yeah, maybe we can talk about that another time.
I like how Josh is setting up episode 2 for us. I like this.
I like that. I was thinking the same thing. We already now have to have him back for this episode. So that's great. But everybody check out hashrunes.com. Check out Josh on Twitter and OpenSea. And that is going to do it for us. What do we got coming up next week, Chamber? Anything? Just
who knows? Whatever the market tells us, we're going to come up with.
That's exactly right.
We have to wait till the weekend happens.
We plan these shows basically a day ahead. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think with Josh, we had it set up a little earlier, but
hey, we're back to some kind of structure on this show. Look at that.
We had a guest. It was great. A+. We probably won't have another guest for a while. We don't want to set the bar too high all the time. We got to bring it down.
That's right. They don't call us Wrecked Podcast for nothing. In the meantime, I'm going to go spend our joint Wrecked Podcast funds on a digital horse. And until next time, don't get wrecked. And that is financial advice.